Welcome to White Slash. I'm glad to have you on my channel. Let's jump in today's story. My brother, M35, and I, F33, used to have an amazing relationship. Like the one you'd see in movies. We were extremely close, had the same hobbies, and spent a lot of time together. Everything was amazing, and even when we grew older and distance came between us as we started moving in different directions of life, it didn't break apart our bond. In fact, it just brought us closer. My brother and I were by each other's side during our darkest times, and during each other's brightest ones too. This did not even change when my brother met Alice, F35. Alice was my brother's neighbor at the apartment he had rented during college, and that's where they met. They started going out after 6 months of knowing each other, and during the initial time when Alice used to only visit us during the holidays for a day or two, I used to think she was the perfect woman for my brother. She was kind, talented, sweet, and extremely driven, and I truly believed that she was not only a perfect match for my brother, but also blended in perfectly with my family. My opinion of her truly changed when I first came back from college. Well, you see, by the time I was gone for college in a different state, my brother and Alice were done with theirs and had moved in together close to my parents. I would only see them during break, and even then my contact with my brother and her wasn't much because I had gotten together with my now husband too. So I understood that my brother and I both were in the honeymoon phase of our respective relationships and did not make much time for each other. 3 years went by quickly and my brother had married Alice by then. I was extremely happy for them and myself because we all got along so well, and that is all I had ever wanted. During this time period, we unfortunately lost our grandfather. My grandfather was extremely close to me and my brother, and him passing away understandably took a toll on us, especially my brother. This even brought me and my brother close like childhood, and we started spending ample time together. Now, this shouldn't be confused with us putting aside our relationships for this time, because through most of it, our partners would be around us, and even if it was bothersome then, I'm sure my now husband would be the first one to point this out, but he didn't, and Alice didn't as well, so I thought everything was well and good. This lasted until the time came for my wedding. My brother really got involved in it because this is what my grandpa had wished for. He wanted my brother and my wedding to be full of joy, and he had specifically told us both to take care of the wedding and ensure that we both had the most amazing weddings when our time came if he wasn't present. I was extremely happy because I thought I had the support of my parents and also my SIL and brother through this special yet nerve-wracking time. I thought all was going well, but only if I knew that the true nerve-wracking time was about to come after my wedding. The wedding came and went by, and a couple of months had passed by when my SIL announced that she was pregnant with the first grandchild of the family. Everyone was ecstatic, especially my brother, and I were so looking forward to being an aunt. I got the opportunity to be there for my nephew, but only until he was about a year old. Right after the birth of my nephew, my brother had started getting distant with me and my husband. Initially, I chalked it up to the stress of being a father and having to look after my nephew. This change in behavior of my brother continued as my nephew grew older, and I realized this change wasn't just temporary stress of parenthood, but that my brother was trying to cut me out permanently. This realization hit me when I saw pictures of my nephew's first birthday party at my brother's house. Everything just clicked to me, and I broke down. I feel like this was his way of telling me that he no longer wanted contact with me. I thought I would try to see if he would call me, but no. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months and months into years. I heard absolutely nothing from him. He would go as far as to ask any of my relatives if I was coming to a family event to avoid going at all cost. I tried talking to my parents to get to talk to him, my relatives, my grandma, everyone possible, but he just wouldn't show his face. It was extremely odd and unexpected to me at the time, but unfortunately, with time and a lot of therapy, I got over most of it. Years and years went by with this, and this has become the new normal. Wherever he and his family were going to be present, I avoided, and vice versa. My husband and I had decided not to have any kids, and so we would spoil the children of our nieces and nephews a lot since the very start. This became more as the business my husband and I started up during the pandemic, and we were fortunate enough to start earning in 7 figures. And that is when the problem arose. Like I said, I loved spoiling my nieces and nephews a lot. And this was more of a gesture to show them that I was right behind them as a guardian whenever they needed me. I set up college funds for all of them. It didn't have a lot of money, but I figured if I kept adding some every year, by the time most of them turned 18, they would have a sizable sum to use for either college or other purposes. For the same, I sat their parents down last week and told them my plan. My cousin seemed extremely excited hearing this, and I was happy to see them happy. A lot of my nieces and nephews found out about the same through their parents eventually, and sent me a lot of thank you messages. My heart filled with warmth to see just how happy they felt by my little gesture. Well, this all lasted until my parents called me to ask me about the college funds. I told them everything and expected a positive response from them, but I was shocked to hear my mom being enraged by me for not thinking of my brother's children. Huh? I was shocked to hear the plural, let alone her reaction. I tell her that she knew my brother and I weren't in contact for years on end now, and I cannot do things for someone who thinks I'm not worth it to have a relationship with his children. My mom continued to yell at me for not taking my nieces and nephews into consideration and how I should have known that my brother wasn't doing financially well. I did have an idea about my brother losing his job when I had accidentally overheard a conversation between a few of my cousins at a family event. I thought my mom was removing the frustration for the same on me, and so I just let her, so that I would talk to her later when she calmed down. This unfortunately did not work as my phone continued blowing up by not just my mom but also my cousins and my SIL herself. Yes, the woman that I hadn't talked to in years called me herself, and you know what her first words were? She berated me for everything that happened and told me that I was a selfish sister, and that is why my brother has cut contact with me. It felt like years of the therapy I had gone through went to waste as I felt myself crumbling down and overthinking if I truly was the problem. My family is currently torn apart, and most of them are of the view that I should have considered my brother's children in this trust fund as they were in desperate need of money. Well, I knew that my brother had lost his job, as I mentioned, but I really wasn't aware of the depth of the situation and wasn't sure if I could ask any of my cousins as they would previously never give me any access to my brother's life. So Reddit, AITA for not setting up a trust fund for my brother's children who cut off contact with me for unclear reasons. I'm really not sure if I'm the problem in this situation, so any judgment would be appreciated. Update 1. Here's an update for you guys. I read all of your comments and decided to continue avoiding contact with everyone until I reached a firm solution, but unfortunately, I still haven't. One thing that is holding me back from taking a decision is that a lot of my nieces and nephews themselves have started contacting me to berate me for being inconsiderate towards my blatant favoritism. All of them were of the view that if I'm not going to include my brother's children, then obviously I'm not a great aunt for doing what I'm doing for them. I clearly told all of them that although I appreciate them for standing for each other as cousins, they know nothing about the situation, and I would appreciate if they backed off and let the adults handle the situation. This did not work and acted as fuel in the fire, as it seemed to enrage my nieces and nephews more for not hearing them out. I feel like my SIL has now done an amazing job to not only turn my brother around me, but also my entire family. It breaks my heart because I have always felt like these were the people I would run to when I have fallen under hard times, but these are the people who are not ready to listen to my side of the story. Especially my nieces and nephews, children of such a tender age, 14 to 17, are making me feel like a villain, knowing full well everything I would do for them and all the lengths I would go to, just so I can make all of their dreams fulfilled. I feel really upset with not only myself for trusting everyone so much, but also at my family for turning around on me so easily. The messages I receive have been getting more and more aggressive day by day, and I'm truly trying hard to not break down over this turn of events. I know I will have to make a firm decision soon, and the fact that it probably won't be a pretty one, hurting a lot of people around me, is extremely nerve-wracking. Update 2. It's been about a month since this entire situation took place, and this is what all went down. I first decided to talk to my parents to let them know that I was firm on not paying for my brother's children's education. This obviously angered them, that they went till a point to threaten to disown me. This reaction is extremely out of proportion and way beyond what I knew I deserved to hear for setting boundaries. So I told them I was going to stop paying for their medical expenses as well. I think they did not see this coming and for some reason instantly backtracked and tried to smoothen their words. But I knew I had to stay firm, and thankfully, with the support of my husband, I was able to. I similarly contacted my cousins, nieces, and nephews to sit them down to explain the situation to them. This is when I told them I was withdrawing the funds I had set up for them to ensure fairness, and that even though this is what I didn't want, the lesson about fairness my nieces and nephews taught me truly opened my eyes. I knew I was slightly letting my petty side overtake me, but honestly, after the treatment I had received from my family, I really don't think their behavior would have changed even after I helped my brother's children. Hear me out. My heart hurts for them and their situation, but the way everyone went about the situation was extremely disrespectful to me, and even though it took me a while to realize that, I know I deserve better than to be treated like this. But coming back to the situation, their reactions were as me and my husband had anticipated, full of rage. Most of them berated me for turning the lives of children upside down, ruining their futures, so on and so forth. This was a bit rich coming from these people, as most of them are truly doing pretty well off financially, except for my brother. I wasn't having any of it. I left immediately after their taunts turned into full yelling and screaming at me. Among themselves, it was a terrible situation to see. I am currently home. My mood alternates from crying my eyes out to feeling good to have cut off these toxic people from my life. Yes, I have decided to block everyone's numbers and not be in touch with anyone anymore. I have increased my number of therapy appointments and will work on my boundaries. I have understood a lot from this situation, especially the importance of reaching out for help to my friends, as family does not limit itself to blood-related relations. These amazing people have been there for me more than my family ever has in this situation, and I will be so very grateful for that. If you all are wondering what would happen to the money that I set aside for college fund for my nieces and nephews, some of it will go to my friend's niece, who recently lost her father to cancer. I truly want to continue helping people and go beyond family. I will start looking into NGOs and other non-profit organizations to help people stuck in unfortunate situations. Opinion 1. NTA. How does your brother expect you to be there for him when he does not let you in his life? Family is extremely entitled, and I wouldn't be surprised if all of them were in it for the money. Please reconsider having a relationship with these entitled people. Opinion 2. Cut everyone off and the funds too. This is some peak toxic, entitled behavior that only people like OP's family can understand the working of. I'm really sorry to say this, OP, but these people are only after your money and do not care about you as a person, so it would be for the best if you just cut your losses and cut them out of your life. Seems like you're struggling with setting boundaries too. Please try to get yourself into therapy for the same if possible. Yesterday, I attended a company training that was hosted by two coworkers from a different department, Anna and Sue. Anna checked if all attendants were present and mispronounced my name, which is a common mistake. Think Megan, which can be pronounced Megan or Megan, and I'll be a Megan. Edit. With my real name, it's the difference between the French-English pronunciation, which is more distinct than Megan/Megan, but I struggled with finding an example. Anna said Megan twice before the introduction round. I introduced myself as Megan. She took note because she responded with a snarky, "I'll try to remember it's Megan." Try. Heavy emphasis on the last try. Both Anna and Sue proceeded to call me Megan for the duration of the training, which was 1.5 hours in a small group setting. I was directly addressed or mentioned about 10 times. Sue corrected herself the 2 times she got it wrong. Anna didn't. After directly addressing me as Megan for the 5th time, I said, "I'm sorry, but my name is Megan. I've already mentioned this, and at this point, it frankly is annoying." Sue apologized. Anna said nothing. They asked for feedback at the end. Anna again called me Megan and said it was because she knows 2 Megans, and this was her reason for calling me that. I just said, "Okay," and gave my feedback. The training had been very informative. I also thought it could be a good practice to start a session off by checking if you get all attendants' names right. I have a follow-up training with the same trainers in 2 weeks, but I figured I would take a day to cool off and then maybe see if I could talk to them in person to smooth this out if I still felt like that was necessary. Then, Anna video called me 2 hours after the training. She was indignant and said that she usually doesn't do this, but I had disrupted her training, had been hostile about an honest mistake, and had been condescending to her. She said, "You seem to be very sensitive about this, but it's not like I intentionally called you by the wrong name. I explained my reasons and you were irrationally angry." I checked with her whether she expected me to apologize for calling her out on mispronouncing my name no less than 8 times, and she confirmed that was the reason for her call. I did not apologize and told her that if anyone should apologize, it was her. She said it was probably best if we left it at that because we wouldn't get closer to agreeing. I agreed and hung up. For reference, Anna is a mid-40s white woman who's been with the company for quite some time. I'm a mid-30s woman with Asian features. I have difficulty speaking in groups, so I blush when I do so. I can imagine that my blushing when I expressed being annoyed may have come across as being red in the face due to anger. I've also been told in the past that I come across as angry, harsh, or stern, no matter how much I school my features or soften my voice. So, AITA for calling out a trainer for repeatedly mispronouncing my not very difficult to pronounce Western name during the training. Opinion 1. NTA, and fully agreed. This was deliberate. She knew what she was doing. She was called out on it in front of everybody after being gently corrected. She's likely banking on you not standing up for yourself. Not only that, but it sets a precedent. What does she do to people whose names don't match their expressed gender, or for people whose names are difficult to say, or who have ethnic names? If you go to HR with this, it starts or continues a paper trail that may lead to disciplinary action or her removal from the position due to lack of respect to other employees. That would be extreme, but she at least deserves disciplinary action. Opinion 2. NTA, and I personally believe that you should report the confrontational call to your supervisor.